But let's chat a little bit more about the DNA backlog issue. Let's talk to DNA Africa's Regional Director, Vanessa Lynch. Vanessa, good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. You know, we think of a number of very high-profile serial rapist cases. The most recent, of course, was over a 1,000-year sentence. As these backlogs continue, are we, as South Africans, at great danger, really?
I think we do have a serious problem with serial offenders in South Africa, and we've seen in the past when the forensic DNA laboratories were working at full capacity how so many of these serial offenders have been identified through the DNA database. It's a great sadness that through an accumulation of events, contracts expiring, withdrawal of baseline funding to the Forensic Science Laboratory, the great work that was being done after the DNA Act was passed actually was almost unraveled, and we now are at a situation where the backlog has been increased to over 200,000. But I do think that there is some light at the end of the tunnel. A number of the contracts, which I heard you mention at the beginning of this segment, have actually been awarded. We are moving in the right direction. It becomes now a question of accountability. If the police have indeed got a turnaround strategy in place and they have a plan that they're implementing, we need a dashboard where they can show us how many samples are being processed every week and how many serial offenders are being identified, so that we can start get a sense of whether they actually are putting into action these very important measures that they say they're putting in place.
As they do that, of course, more cases are being added every single day. My understanding is that the police minister, and correct me if I'm wrong, wants a full population database. Is that correct?
Well, there is a bill that is currently still waiting to be passed, and this will mean that convicted offenders are not released before their samples are being taken. There was a time when the Minister of Police delayed this due to his intentions to have a population database, but in Parliament recently he did say that he is, in parallel to that process, which he's still investigating, he's allowing this bill to go through. So we should hopefully be seeing this bill come through Cabinet in the next few months. Again, it's about accountability. If these things are being said in Parliament and the Minister of Police has agreed that the bill may go through and that convicted offenders may be sampled before being released, we need to know, well, when is that going to happen? Why is there still a delay, and why haven't they, now that these contracts have been awarded, now that they've been given funding to the Forensic Science Laboratories, why are we not seeing these convicted offenders being sampled? Why hasn't that bill actually been signed by the President and put back into law?
If, tragically, something happens to one of us now, and there is an offender that police are looking for, what will we go through as a victim?
I think it's very important to still have faith in the justice system, because that's all we have, and rather than continue to criticize it, I think what we have to do is make sure that what is currently in place is actually used to its best ability. In the event of a rape survivor having to go to a crisis centre, it's still vitally important to have evidence collected, because even if that takes 2 years for that turnaround plan to actually get back on track and for samples to be analysed within the 30 days that is required in terms of our DNA laws, it means that as soon as that profile is entered onto the database, there's a good chance that it will be linked to somebody already in the database, or at least it will provide criminal intelligence if it's linked to other unsolved cases. So there's always merit in collecting that evidence, that there's a lot of work that can be done, and we just need transparency from the government. Where are we now? Have you started analysing the samples? What turnaround time are we looking at in the laboratories? How many samples are you capable of processing per week? So that we can get a sense that things are in fact being done in the way that they have promised it will be attended to.
DNA Africa's Regional Director, Vanessa Lynch, and we will certainly try and get those answers as well. As we said, police have yet to respond to ETV News on this story.